already.
All right, we're recording this for others. Go ahead.
Okay. I think it would be easier for me to go back to the office and get on the Zoom call. If you guys will bear with me while I'm in the car, we can still talk and I'm okay.
Fine on our end, my end.
Okay. Hi, Leah. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Awesome.
I will start off by saying I appreciate the efforts of the Alumni Association for even considering to support what we're doing in the Career Services Office. It's a doesn't seem like it right now, but it's a priority for me to collaborate not only with the on-campus colleges and the graduate school, but it's imperative for me to work with the alumni, not just for the volunteer efforts, but as I talk to companies, even today, when I sent Dwayne a email about travelers, they're looking for seasoned individuals to help out and to be a part of their companies. This one was, and every call I make, every time I talk to a company, I talk about the alumni and how we can, we're connected all the way. So I'm very serious about making this piece happen and keeping the relationship going. As far as the ACE program is concerned, we've got a huge career fair coming up on March 15th. The students are in desperate need of continued support for their resumes and interview skills. The piece that comes to mind when we put together this, when we had this discussion in the beginning about the alumni helping out, was because of the fact we hear from the undergraduates all the time that they would love to hear from the alumni to help them out, just because there's a voice of reason there and you've been in their shoes. And that's what's important about making this piece happen. We are in full mode of doing the marketing piece to bring this about. Dwayne, I owe you a huge apology. When I woke up this morning thinking about the fact that that's twice I'm apologizing on this call, that in the meeting on Tuesday, that I talked about the career fair, but I didn't say anything about the resume workshop. And I should have, and I wish you would have jumped in and said something about it while we were on that Zoom call with Wayne near the end of the call. You or Ursula would have jumped in, because I was so busy trying, full of emotion around what he was talking about, that I forgot to mention the ACE program. But we have over 100 companies signed up for the career fair. And right now we're at close to 53 students that are signed up for registered for the career fair. I did a presentation last night with the Greek organizations on campus, talking about it, and also talked about the ACE program. I've got 2 meetings tomorrow with students, SGA, and to talk about the this program. They're well aware of the career fair, and Monday we will be down in the lobby of MLK, where we'll be passing out flyers for ACE and for the career fair, and still encouraging students to be a part of it. I think the biggest part about and I'm sure everyone that's on the call now has done some sort of resume review, and tell me if I'm wrong. And what I found is that students are, what I say to students doing the resume review is that this generation is probably the smartest, most technologically savvy generation ever. But that's the good part. That's the good thing. The bad part is they don't know it, and they don't recognize, and a lot of things that they do, if there's such a word as a lot, things that they do, they just take it for granted. So there's time after time after time I'm in my office, and I'll say to the, we'll just stay on the education piece, and I'll say, well, have you been on the dean's list since you've been here? Well, yeah, my GPA is about 3.7 right now. Well, where is it on your resume? It's not on here. And where's the dean's list or president's list? It's not on here. But, Mr. Bankston, I told my mom that's why I came to school, was to get my grades. Well, that's one thing for you to tell me and tell your mom, but as a recruiter, I need to know these things. And those are the kind of things when I say they don't, they take things for granted, they do. And so as you're looking at the resumes, if we just stay right there, try to get the students to ask them questions that will help them realize that we're not bragging. I don't want you to brag. You're not bragging about yourself. What you're doing is telling the story about your accomplishments. And that's what employers want to know. And you all in the workforce now know that, but the students need to hear that. And then coming off of this whole COVID piece and being away from campus for the 18 months that they were away, we're trying to get them to get off that settled mindset of, I'm back in school, I'm going to get my grades, I'm going to make this happen, and I'm going to get a job, but I don't need to put it on my resume because I know how good I am. Well, the companies need to know how good you are. I hope that makes sense, because it's things that we, as being in the field and alumni, know, but they take it for granted. And I hope I'm done. I know I'm singing to the choir, but I'm not, because we have to have that conversation. And so I try not to think for the students, but in some cases I have to push and prod and push and prod. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions about that piece as far as asking questions and leading questions into for the resume piece? Because you're really looking at about a 10 to 15 minute time period where you could help them understand that nobody's going to look at their resume more than 5 minutes. And it needs to tell the story just like that.
Terry?
Yes.
This is I'm Stephanie Barrett. So I exactly, hi. So I know exactly what you mean. And that was my question, like, how long do you want us to spend on these resumes? I consider myself not an expert, but I do. I'm in sales. I'm in pharmaceutical sales. Been in the industry for over 25, 30 years. So, and in teaching even my son how to, read a resume and looking at his resume before he goes out on the job. I'm like, well, didn't you do this? Well, you got to make your resume pop. You got to make it, come to life, and you're actually telling your story. So what is your story? And so we have to make them realize what their story is in a very short time, and making sure everything that they've done, I don't care if they were a manager at McDonald's, say, I was a manager of this corporation. Yeah, they have to turn it into like what they did and make it really, you're not really stretching anything, but you want to make sure, because they're competing and the next person in there is competing, and it's a competition, and they need to know that they're good, but the next person in there is competing for that same job.
You're right. So a word that and so as a parent, a word and a tone that you don't want to say is, you're not just. And so, because that gets them thinking that we're being completely.
Did we lose him?
To your point,
Terry, we missed you.
I take it even down to cashier. And I said, now, if you had your own company, where would you put your most trustworthy employee at? Handling the money and being the face of your company, or doing something else where you're back in the back room doing, not that either the job is more important than the other, but if the responsibility for being the face of the company where you're right there in front and having dialogue with the company, boom, right off the bat, you're not just a cashier. You are there from that organization, whether it's Burger King, whether it's Chipotle. Chipotle is a perfect one to talk about when it comes to working there. When they tell me well, I'm sure you had to do some training to understand mix of meat.
Terry, you going in and out.
Hey, Terry,
Huh?
you're going in and out. I don't know if you're somewhere.
Okay. Yep. You guys, give me a minute and 30 seconds.
2 minutes.
I'll give you 2 minutes, Terry.
I say 2 minutes.
Seconds, and I'll be on the computer. I'll be right.
Uh-huh. I was wondering if they have a resume format. Do they have that?
I asked that question to Terry before. Is there a specific format? And he didn't
Right.
want us to pigeonhole something, a certain format for everyone. So
Yes,
his answer is no.
I would not I would not recommend using a resume format.
No, not specific format. See, okay, so the way we deal with resumes in my company, okay, so for a particular area of business, then your resume is tailored to fit that position or that industry, because time and time again we get resumes from people and they'll have all their credentials and everything, and they have absolutely nothing to do, with the EEO business, or and so when I see that, I can't do anything with it. Now I can offer them some suggestions, but that's what we usually look for. We look for relevancy. So yeah, so that's why there was a format.
No, understood. It's more about the content as opposed to the format, I would suggest. And just a little background about myself. I was actually a recruiter for 18 years. So I have seen billions of resumes. So I just, when I hear format, I think of that standard kind of block.
No,
filling
I don't
in the
mean like
blanks.
that. No, I mean a format. No, I mean tailored.
No, I know what you're saying now. I know what you're saying.
Tailored,
Absolutely.
tailored.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're in IT, you need to have your specific, items that you've done, your software, your hardware, etc. If you are in communications, that looks different. So yes, that needs to be described based upon the type of role that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay.
And Sophia, if you don't mind, just as a recent graduate, I mean, what resources did they offer you at all during your transition into the workplace?
Yeah, I actually was typing in the chat. I was actually going to say that I got my resume done with someone like at the Career Services, I think it's called, an MLK. And it was really nice. I mean, like you can just like go to them and you tell them everything about you, and they kind of like threw it all in and made the resume for you. So ever since then, I kind of like took that and I give it to other people to use because it's a really nice resume. I mean, so it's not like it's not like a fill in the blank thing. It kind of like is specific to my thing.
Exactly.
So for me, I graduated 2015, so it's been about 7 years. I mean, I know things have changed, but for me, I was a College of Business major, and we had advisors at the time, specifically in the College of Business, that would do our schedule and things for us. So they told us to create a resume, ourselves, but then we gave it to them, and then they reformatted it and organized it. So I guess personally, Yeah. I'm surprised they don't have that within each of the departments to help the students, in
Right.
addition to, like you mentioned, career services.
Right. That would be so nice if they did, because I see some kind of crazy looking resumes
Yeah.
that are like lacking
Yeah.
information, like the GPA, like they were saying.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Sophia, a lot of students don't utilize career services like they should. So
Yeah,
that's the
I agree.
one problem. And business schools tend to really focus on resumes, but then the other majors don't necessarily do that, which is
Right.
unfortunate.
Right.
And
So
that's the case with not just Delaware State, but with a lot of colleges.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, career services though is really, really a nice resource. And one of my friends recommended it to me, and that's the reason I went. So it would be good if these students were reaching out a bit more too. And then we also have like, those pathway classes that we have to take. So, it should be kind of like a requirement maybe in the pathway classes to like head over there, talk to the people. Sometimes they do make it a requirement, which is good. Yeah.
Well, you guys, I know Terry didn't introduce himself, his title, but he is the director of career services.
Okay, got it.
And so, and his staff is growing. He's been a kind of a one-man show for a while, but it's starting to grow. And certainly we try to direct, or they try to direct folks to his office to help with that kind of support. One of the things that, and I shared with Terry before he gets back on, I said, Terry, we're doing this ACE program for this career fair. I said, and I mean, that we're hoping to help these students, get them, we're right here. I said, well, what would we do? What do you think about extending beyond the career fair so that it's something that the alumni could offer long-term as an opportunity? Because, you got 5,000 students over at the school, and even if a small portion of them needs some kind of support on a resume review or ad hoc real quick stuff, it might be something to consider, and certainly love the fact to share that with maybe the folks on this call might be part of that extended ACE program team. Terry,
Great idea.
Okay, I'm sure Dwayne had me on the clock too, as far as a minute
2 minutes
and a
and
half.
38 seconds.
I understand.
You owe
I
us.
understand. I'm just glad to be on here. So I left off as far as words and tone, and I try to keep it simple. Sometimes, as Dwayne said, I've talked to quite a few students. First, let me say that COVID and this whole pandemic piece, I look at it as an opportunity, not as a hindrance, because what it has done is it has leveled the playing field to where students are fresh, and they've some of their preconceived notions are gone, and so they're hungry to hear some of the things that we have to say. But it's at a point now where when they hear from companies, so I had a call on Monday that was an information session, and I'm saying all this to let you know that I had the Kenmore's company on an information session on Tuesday, and I had one of the professors from engineering school on the call. I had about 40 students and 4 representatives from Kenmore. And so the students saw the career services office, the faculty, and the companies all working together saying the exact same thing. And then to top it off, I couldn't even have written a script this way. One of the individuals that were on the call from Chemours was a gentleman that had went to Dell Tech, got his associates, got his undergrad from Delaware State, interned through Delaware State with Chemours, and then took a job with Chemours based on the things that happened in from the internship. And the way he walked through the process had students watching right away. And I had students come to my office afterwards saying, so you talked to Dr. Rashamni? Yeah. Dr. Rashamni was on the call talking to the student. He knew the student, and the employers were like eating it all up, and the students started talking to, sending in resumes for the job. So my point is, when they see what we're doing from a alumni, career services, career fair standpoint and they see that we're all on the same page, it makes sense to them to see from a collaboration standpoint that they are the center of this whole thing. So it's not just Terry saying something. It's not just the company who they really don't know and don't trust right away saying something, but you have a voice from an alum that have been through the fire saying something. And then when we bring in the faculty and administration to chime in, boom, we're on the same page. So we're ahead of the game when it comes to how we talk to the students. And I do really want to make that important because we don't have to try to impress them when they see that we're in this together and we're collaborating and we let them know that they are the center of what we're trying to do. We're trying to help them. Everybody, we want everybody to win. You know, there's no person better than another person. I want everybody to win at this game. So that's the big piece. The virtual piece, if there's anything that the students need to really understand is that virtuality is not going to go away. So that empathetic nerve that they need to have, and I encourage them to have it. You know, I don't want to do anything else virtually, Mr. Bankston. I'm tired of virtual. Give me something in person. We can't have that in person all the time right now. So as the alumni are working with you, pay attention, be on time, get your resumes ahead of time to them, and ask questions that make sense. Don't just come on with your hoodie on and your robe and not paying attention. Mm-hmm. And I say that to them all the time when I'm talking about what we're doing, whether it's me, whether it's a company, whether it's a class, be on point. And those are the kind of things that you can say to them that treat this just like you were in front of me for an interview. And that's where we have to start from to make that happen. But on the other hand, what we're doing is helping them. You'll find some students that will have nothing to put on a resume. So they try to stretch it. So I try to stay away from putting relevant coursework on there because the resume is going to change every time with every job that you put on there. I encourage students to, if there's a tip that I can give you all, because of this AI piece and this artificial intelligence, which we didn't have, at least I didn't have to worry to go through that piece, is that when somebody's going to read my resume when I was in school, now they're having resumes go somewhere in a computer, and the computer is kicking them out of the system if they're not worded properly, if there's misspelling, if the punctuation's wrong, if they're not, some buzzwords. So in the process of talking to them about their resume, I think Dwayne was in there once when I had a student, I would tell the student, okay, read the job description. Read the job description. Read the job description. Now, I want you to go in and look for some buzzwords that are in the job description that may match some of the things that you have in your resume, but they're different words. And I use the example of Disney. Disney is the perfect one because they will say in their job descriptions, we are hiring cast members for Magic Kingdom, or we're hiring cast members for our computer programming area. Mm-hmm. And if you put in your objective and the job that you're searching for, that I'm searching to be a cast member in the programming department with Walt Disney World, I know for a fact that resume goes straight to HR because you're using their language. Even if it's internship as a cast member, it's using their language. So I encourage them to read the job description, read the job description, read the job description. Find out what, and when you save your resume in your laptop, on your PC, save it under Walt Disney World resume. That way you don't send a resume that you were using for Walt Disney World to Universal when you're interviewing for a job with Universal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's little things like that, so that they think they're being slick where they say, okay, I'll get the resume to you right now.
Nope.
I'll get the resume to you right now.
Right.
You're not going to send a Disney resume
Right.
to Xerox.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
And so it's those kind of things that make, that makes sense, Mr. Bankston. That makes sense, Mr. Bankston. And the other thing that's real simple, and I say this because, and it's, you all don't have to worry about it from your standpoint, but so many students will not put their P.O. box on their resume. They'll put their home address on their resume. And that's important because sometimes we want to say, oh, you're from DC. Okay, you're from DC. That's good. That's good. Well, no, it's not, because if you put your DC address on there, I tell them, okay, stop right there. If you interview with Walt Disney World and this has your DC address on there, I want you to pick up the phone, call mother, father, grandmother, sister, brother, everybody that lives in that household and say, hey, look, I just interviewed for a job with Walt Disney World. If I get any mail that comes to the house from Walt Disney World, call me immediately so that and let me know what it is. Because so often they will go, oh, Terry got a letter from, oh, this is another letter for Terry for Disney. Okay, let's put it in the Terry pile because Terry will be home in 2 weeks for spring break. So let's put it in the pile for Terry. We won't worry about sending it to him. And they'll do it automatically because you're going to get so many things because of your home address on all the stuff that you have with the school. No, not. It's not going to work. Have them call you, or in some cases, and this is, I'm not being sexist with this, I tell the females, don't put an address on there at all, because that's really a lot of information that you're giving somebody about how to find you in a land address. Put your email address, put your phone number, and then if they need to send you something, then give them a P.O. box or somewhere where they can send you something in the mail. Then you know they're sending you something because they sent you an email to say that it's going to happen. So those are two areas that I'm real sensitive about making it. And we haven't even gotten into the education piece, but that's where I'm at. So does that make sense? Because it's those kind of things where they get stuck in right off the bat.
Hey, Terry, I do have a question. Sorry, go ahead, Juan.
Oh, I just had a question. You said that for the guys, you just tell them, you just tell the women.
No, I tell both. I tell both.
Yeah, tell both. I would just tell all of them, right? It doesn't matter because men are just as much at risk of some craziness out here as women.
And,
so
I said that, I prefaced that to say I'm not being biased, but again,
I know.
And so here's another thing about, as you're doing resume critiques. I came from a family with 3 sisters and I'm the only boy in the family. I'm always going to be protective of women and my sisters, hands down. No doubt about it. I want them to be safe.
Right.
So that's a bias I have because I've come from that 3 sisters, mother, father.
Right.
So, but your point is correct. And I sell that to the guys too, because they don't want to put a hard address down. And they're the worst to not tell somebody that they have interviewed for a job and they're getting mail and then something needs to be returned within 3 days or answered for an internship or a job.
Right.
I didn't know you sent that to me, but it's the address that you put on your resume.
Yeah.
Terry, the question I had is I know a lot of people on this call are very experienced with resume reviews, but I'm just curious if there's going to be maybe some type of list of maybe key items that we need to keep in mind when
yes,
reviewing
I
for the
have
student.
that, and I'll forward that to you. I'll forward that
Thank you.
cheat sheet of tips that I have for the student, especially from a virtual standpoint. You can look at it and go through it, and a lot of the things that I'm saying to you are on that sheet, and some of the most obvious ones are: make sure somebody else looks at your resume. Let somebody else read it before you do anything with it. Let somebody, it's not personal, just let them read it so they can tell you, what does this mean? This doesn't make sense. This is not a complete sentence. Why do you have a period there? You keep saying I know this about you, so why are you keep putting I in the the thing that really gets their attention right off the bat, and I said, don't insult my intelligence. If you tell me that you graduated from Tecumseh High School in 2021 and you got a high school diploma, I know you got a high school diploma. You don't have to put that on your resume. Just if you were in honor society, if you were in different groups, put that on there. Don't tell me you got a high school diploma. I know you had it. Don't waste that line on your resume by putting it on there. You're right, Mr. Bankston. I understand. The same thing with schools. What school do you go to now? Oh, Delaware State University. That's not on here, is it? Nope. You got to put it on your resume because that's you showing me something that you had in high school. And Delaware State goes first, then the city and state, and then resumes are read for the most part right to left because they want to see gaps. So, and it doesn't matter in this case. Delaware State is a perfect example of not having to put on there when you start because it's when you finish that companies need to know about. So if you're graduating in May of 2023, now I can consider you for an internship opportunity, but I can't offer you a full-time job because you've got another year of school left. Or if you're graduating in 2025, you're a freshman, and that's okay. Let's talk about some programs that you can learn a little bit more about the company. If you're graduating in May 2022, I got a full-time job I can offer you, and that's what we'll talk about. But they have to put it on there, but they want to say I started in October of this year, and I'm graduating here, and no, it doesn't matter when you start. And the reason I said that is because this is a town that has an Air Force base. Some people start off and they go and take some time in the military. So they could put 2 years in the military, graduate from high school in 2016, and now they're back in school. And I started in August of 2016, and now here it is 2022. They don't say that they spent 2, 3, 4 years in the military. They just put on there when they started, when they're graduating. So those are the kind of things, and it's right off the bat. And that's where that right to left comes in. The other thing that you have to watch out for and not be critical of is that different majors, your mass comm and your art, architecture, and they'll have resumes that are fancy doodle stuff on there because that's what they do. And then you have other ones that will try to use templates that they don't have to because they saw it, and it's so hard to try to change things in there. Again, personal preference. I don't encourage them to use templates, but I do say there's no one right way to do it. If you can go in there and change things around, fine, but just make sure that the information that's in the document makes sense and is to the point. And the other piece is make sure you can quantify things to the cashier person. If you say I was just a cashier, well, did you have to balance your register? Were you closing the store? Were you opening the store? So were you the one that had to train other cashiers to do something? That's what you have to talk about as opposed to I was just a cashier. I was good. So, and as those young freshmen are concerned, I don't have, especially athletes. That's another one. All I did is play basketball, Mr. Bankston. That's all I've done is play ball. Were you the captain of the team? Well, yeah, I'm captain now. How many captains do they have? It's just me. Put it on your resume. It's only one captain, you're the captain. Put things on there that separates you from the rest of the team. And that's what I like to see them do. So give me some questions and I can help you through.
I got a question. Yes. Do they explain the gaps in the resume? Generally, when we've reformatted resumes before, and we've also spoken with people about the resumes. So when somebody has a gap, usually we'll kind of like put in parentheses. And maybe my level of review is different because I was trained as a lawyer to read, to do resumes and so forth. So they want it, like most lawyers when they're reviewing stuff, they want everything up front. So if there's a gap, it's like, okay, just put parentheses, I was out of school or something like that. Or do you just prepare them, have them to be prepared to answer the question pertaining to the gap in the resume?
That's an excellent question because that's one thing that COVID has done to make people have to realize that, and I hate to put it on some folks, but there's some people that are sitting back getting unemployment checks where they could be working, and then when they go back into the work field, and somebody says, "Well, tell me about this gap." Well, I was at home collecting unemployment. But if you're able to talk about, my mom was sick, my dad was sick,
Right.
I stayed home to help with the kids.
Right.
That's
Right.
yes.
Exactly.
We have that kind of conversation. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Terry, I got a question for you. And I know the students are registering for this support here. I got to believe that some of the students are going to come to us and won't even have a resume. I mean, are we going to start from point zero with some of these, or do we? Because we only have so much time.
In this case, because it's virtual, have a sample resume that you can talk from and you can share your screen with.
Okay. Okay.
Now they will take notes. They'll be right there taking notes all day.
Oh, you're saying we should have a sample resume to show?
Just have something that's on the that you can pull up on your screen.
I do. Yeah,
and,
I do. We do.
And talk from there.
Yeah, they can use that. Yep. I have a dummy one. Yeah. Okay.
Terry, you guys are going to be pushing more to get these more students involved to, sign up for this support,
Yes.
Sounds like you got a campaign going and you're going to do something even tomorrow to really get folks going. That's good. We've got a handful, I think maybe 18 to 20 alumni willing to support the ACE program. And, if we ever had to turn that up, we probably can reach out and get more, but we want to make sure we get that these students show up. So we're going to be keeping track of those who, if Wanda, you're assigned to a student and he or she doesn't show, we'll have some communication that has to go back to Ursula, and because she's managing some of that piece of it. And that way we know that things are, we don't want to sit here and wait on a call for somebody and they don't show.
Right. Okay.
That's going to really, really disappoint me if I'm sitting here for the window blocks for 2 hours and someone shows up late. But you'll know who you're assigned to in advance. So it would be helpful to reach out to that person to confirm narrow the window time down.
Okay.
So what happens when they register to be a part of this? What do they get? Do they get a follow-up email? They get a response that says anything, or?
I did send out emails to the students, especially the ones that I sent to all students, but I also encouraged them to please send the resume to the place that the email address that they need to send the resume to, and let them know that there'll be a follow-up to pair them with the person that they're supposed to be with.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And if you send something that says if you're 10 minutes late, that's a question I have. Was it worth sending something that if you're late, we're moving on to the next appointment, or because
I can do that.
It's and I'm going to keep saying that they have to respect the time of the alumni that are putting in there, taking time away from their day.
Well, that's actually a great segue for them to understand that you can't do that in an interview either. So you have to be on time. Period. Actually, be early.
Right.
One of the things, and I just we asked the people on the call, and when you guys registered for this opportunity with the ACE program, is that we asked everyone to be on the DSU Connect platform. And if you haven't, you should register for that because it's relatively easy to do it. This is going to allow us to do your video chats. So if you have a video chat with a student, you can just do it right on the platform. You schedule a time, click a button under their name, hit the video chat, and you can start sharing your documents right there. You don't have to set up Zooms or Teams and all that.
Okay, cool.
And Ursula, and we will be pairing you up right on the system. So the
Okay.
email communications will go out and say,
Right.
Wanda, you're teamed up with student X. That
Okay.
student will know that you guys are connected. You just have to send an email. I would probably initiate an email to say, I'm going to be, you said 6 to 8. Could you tell me which time between 6 and 8 so I can make sure that we're starting on time? And then it's as simple as click that button and start that meeting.
Okay.
And Ursula, you're going to email all of the alumni, the resumes that they're paired with, the person they're paired with.
Yes.
I suspect, again, that some students are going to be starting out from.
Well, I will let you
maybe-
know
maybe
whether,
with nothing.
if they, well, you'll get a resume, you'll get an attachment, but if they don't have a resume, I will definitely in the email let you know we're starting.
So I'll send you that cheat sheet up front so that you'll have it. And that might be something that you could send the person that you're going to be meeting with, because you'll both be able to talk from it. And that gives them some suggestions on how to write a resume and what you're talking from, so they could follow right along with the process. And I have no problem doing that. And I'll have that to Ursula and Dwayne tomorrow morning.
It's
I have
probably
another-
possible- I'm sorry, it's possible that you'll have your meeting with that student, and there might be a need for a follow-up meeting. And I think
Okay.
that one you'll have to coordinate, obviously, on your times outside of that scheduled one we had. So I suspect if somebody came to me and I had to review, we went over some things on the phone or on the chat, that maybe perhaps they might want to say, hey, can you take another look at it, Ms. Williams? I a last look. And you might have another follow-up meeting with that, so.
Mhm. I had a question. The resumes, most resumes that you've seen, do you have a preference in terms of bulleted resumes versus narrative style? My world is bulleted because
Right.
everything goes so fast. So, you might get a little narration, but it's very brief. But most of the time, everything's bulleted. So do you have a preference?
Excellent point, because what I stress is consistency.
Mhm.
Don't start off with bullets and then go to
Mhm.
narrative, or don't start off with narrative and go to bullets. But whatever you're going to do,
Okay.
be consistent with it. So, like I said, there's no one right way to do it,
Mhm.
but the piece with the narrative sometimes leads to, I did this, I did that.
Mhm.
I was, well, I know you're talking about you, so
Mhm.
you may use my responsibility, but
Mhm.
I trained 20 people. I did this, if it's quantifying some things, that makes sense to continue on with the narrative piece. But if it doesn't, just make sure that, I was instructor of 6th grade students for a summer school class. How many 6th grade students? Was it 2 or was it 22? 22 sounds a lot more better than 2, because you had to keep 22 people's attention that you were working with. And I say that to them, but Mr. Bankston, that's what my job was, to do that. Well, I don't know that. I don't know how many students you were working with. And if you said that they all progressed to the next grade, that's even more quantitative to say the 22 students that I have passed the test and were able to move on to the next grade. Boom. That shows that your point got across, and you didn't just pass them, but they had to make the grade to make it happen. So the narrative piece, but the other piece to your narrative is that it can get too long. So bullet points, I try to keep it at no more than 3 to 5 bullet points, and make sure that, there's the customer service is their favorite word. Customer service. And then you have students that they'll just cut and paste what they did on one retail job and put it the same thing in the next retail job. No, that's not what you did. It's a different number of employees that you work with. You had different responsibilities, and there was different things. Don't cheat yourself or shortchange your experience. Give me some meat.
One last
And,
question.
and so to the point about to Dwayne's point about getting back to you with the resume, I'm going to give you some things to think about. We're not going to change it all right here while we're on the call. I want you to go back and write some things down when you do these bullet points. Write it out. Write out what you did and put some quantifying points to it. And then put it in your resume as opposed to sitting at the computer and start typing. Write it out so you'll have it and you can go back to it, because when you get a next job, you're going to have to bump that job down and go to the next one. And you writing out the exact same things that you're doing with this job, but there's different responsibility levels. So the narrative may come from them writing it themselves onto their on their notepad and putting it on their computer, or it may just be following up with their own self to make it happen, to make it work.
Carrie, I have to go, but I just want the folks on the call to get your thoughts on this. Some of these folks have like 2-page resumes. Are we looking at maybe helping them to get it down to a single page? What's your recommendation? Maybe if they're a, senior might have a lot of stuff that they've done, maybe a freshman, sophomore, not as much.
If it's legitimate information, I'd tell them don't fabricate. If you think you're just going to stretch out a resume because that's going to be impressive, no. But if there's some things on there that make sense and they're legitimate and they talk about who you are, especially if it equates to the particular job that you're going after, leave it on there. Recruiter will be able to sift through BS. And the other thing I say, and you all are very well aware of it, is that recruiters talk to each other. If you don't think they're over lunch talking about, did you meet with Wanda Johnson? Oh yeah, I met Wanda. Yeah, I know Wanda. I interviewed her in Chicago at the career fair at the National Black MBA. Oh yeah, Wanda, she's sharp. Or did she tell you that, did she try to run the story on you about, if you keep that stuff straight and to the point, and so that you don't have to lie about something and try to justify something that you fabricated. And then if it's not there, don't put it on a resume. So it could be 2 pages, Dwayne, it could be, as long as it's quantifiable, but don't stretch it.
I have a question. Are we also working with them on their actual interviewing skills? Like when they go to the career fair, will there be any interviewing or just the resume?
Yes, there will be interviews. And so the way the career fair is set up is from 11 to 2 is straight, come to my booth, talk to me. We have forms that'll be at each company's table where they'll be able to set up interviews with students starting at 2:30. So we'll clear the hall, and from 2:30 to 5, they'll be interviewing students that they met that day or pre-screen to come back to have the interviews. So the conversation about, to Ms. Johnson's question about narrative and fluff, some things that they put on their resume are conversation pieces. Those are the kind of things that you'll use in your discussion, in your interview. Skills is a big one. I'm a good communicator. I write well. I'm on time. Well, you know what? I expect for you to do that, and that doesn't separate you from anybody else that's on that I'm getting ready to talk to. That skill is, do you speak a foreign language? Are you bilingual? Not si español, uno, dos, tres. But can you have a conversation in Spanish? Do you have CPR certification, lifeguard certification, first aid? Those are the kind of things that I tell them to look for skills. Some of your technical skills, if you have some certification or you use a certain language better, put that down on there. Everything else is a talking point when I ask you to give me your strengths. Boom. Yeah. Skills are something different, and it needs to make sure that and the word I use a lot is proficient. Don't tell me I'm good. I'm proficient in this. I'm proficient in that. And as I'm a little older than you all are. I told them when Word came out, Microsoft Word came out, that was all brand new. So if we knew Word and PowerPoint and Excel, and we
that
said,
was big.
hey, I can do it. Now your 6-year-old brother can do Microsoft Word, so don't put it on if you're proficient in Word. But PowerPoint, Excel, DOS,
Yeah.
Google Docs, put it on there.
Terry, I have to drop off as well, but I did send you an email. I would love to connect with you next week.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've blocked off some time just for some conversation.
Wonderful. Everyone have a good evening.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Eisen. And again, I apologize to everybody for not getting on right at 7. I took away 10 minutes.
And Terry, I have one more question. Are you the one, if there's a company that wants to, for in the future, be on these career fairs?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Do you have any
Yes.
pharmaceutical companies on there, on your career?
Yeah, we do. We have, I know J&J is going to be at the career fair. I think, I'll have to look at the list. We've got 87, 89 companies already signed up.
Okay.
And we'll have 100.
So I work for Sanofi, and I'm on their diversity team, and I've been trying to keep an eye on what they're involved in as far as reaching out and coming to HBCUs. So
can you send me an email, and I'll find out if they're on the if they're on our list.
Okay.
You know what? I may be able to find out right now. I'm looking at the. I know you said you have to jump off.
Oh no, I don't. Let's see. Should I put it in my chat? Let's see. My email address. Wait.
Or let me give you mine.
Oh yes. Okay. Wait.
Yeah, I was going to put it in the chat.
Okay. Ursula, you can. I have your email address, Ursula.
Yes, you do. But I will put Terry's in there as well.
Okay.
Okay. What did you say the name of the firm was?
Sanofi, SANOFI.
Sanofi. Okay, hold on.
We do have an office in Bridgewater, but I work for the well, now it's called Specialty Care out of Cambridge, but they do have you know, internships and preceptorships, and yeah, both in the Bridgewater.
No, Sanofi.
Okay.
SAN. No.
Okay. Okay.
No.
All right. Then okay. Good to know. All right. At DSU. Got it. At EDU. Okay. Thank you. I have your information. I'm gonna follow up with someone.
Not a problem. And tell them to get on soon, because we're going to be after we get past 100, we just don't run out of room. Only because of the COVID piece, we have to make sure we have the distance, and the aisles are spread out.
Okay.
We can't just pack them in, because right now we have all 3 parlors, plus we'll have some tables out in that second floor lobby area for companies to talk to students.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. I'm just gonna.
No, not a problem.
Great.
Not a problem. Ms. Johnson, that was a great question on the bullet points. That's a big deal for me on the bullets. Because it's easy for them to cut and paste and just. So you did the same thing at Gap that you did?
Yeah, people do that.
Yeah.
In the exact same language? Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. No, that's not what you did. Well, somewhat. No, that's not what you did. So
yeah. Sometimes there's some crossover there. For example, when we have in our industry, we have people that do EEO work. So if they're EEO specialists, they may have counseled people and they may have handled investigations. So that would be similar. but there's some nuances in there. So yeah, so in this world, yeah, it kind of like in the legal world and things like that, everything's just kind of standard, but you have some little tweaks in there, you know, so you can tell it's not just a cookie cutter thing, you know, and so.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And the key to the resume piece, if anything that they walk away with, is all you're doing is the initial resume is just the foundation that you build upon as you start doing different things.
Exactly.
I think we have a few people on here. As we get further into the resume, things like extracurricular activities on.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
Is he on?
Okay.
It means it's time to go.
Yeah, something weird just happened. I don't know what happened.
So he
But
disappeared.
he's gonna send us what we need, right? Because
Right.
this is, okay,
He is. If he
Okay.
doesn't send it, he'll send it to me. I will forward it to you
That's,
guys.
yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
And then you're gonna
Okay.
tell us when, because this is next, I put down next, make
Week.
sure I,
The
yeah,
15th.
right.
Yes. Yeah.
March 15th is the actual career fair.
Oh, I think mine is the 17th. Yeah, I'm the
But
17th.
Oh, when the
but
dates that you put down. Yeah, I have the dates that you guys put down. I have
Yeah.
that.
I was
Okay,
going to say, please. I was going to say, I
Yeah,
have some on the
because
15th.
I'm the 15th and 6th, I put down
Yeah.
2 days, right? I
Mhm.
think,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm the 17th.
I don't
Yeah,
know what just happened.
yeah, I put down 2 days, okay.
Yeah,
Ursula, did you kick me off?
I did not. I would not.
It just went straight back to the beginning screen, and I'm not touching anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Zoom will do that sometimes. Zoom, is that Zoom? Are we in Zoom? Yeah,
Yes.
we're Zoom, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we're
Zoom will
zooming,
do that sometimes. It'll
My
kick you off.
goodness.
we're zooming.
Does that.
Thank you.
Oh, what I was saying was about extracurricular activities. So I'm in Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and I joined in such and such a year. Okay, that's great. Were you an officer? Were you a chair of a committee? Were you?
Okay.
Put that on there. You know, Black Male Initiative, I'm a member. I was the president of Black Male Initiatives. Put that on there. The other thing that back to the students not shortchanging themselves, if they volunteered to be a Girl Scout leader, or if they were volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club, as you do your research, students, on the companies that you're interviewing with, what you may find is one of the organizations that are they're very highly motivated to support is Boys and Girls Club. Oh, and you volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club, and you're big. Then why wouldn't they want to say, well, Terry would be a perfect fit to be on the committee to help us with the Boys and Girls Club initiative that we're doing. Boom. But if you don't talk about it, they don't know. So I hope that makes this.
Yep.
It
Absolutely.
makes a little bit of sense on that piece.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
That's great.
Yep. Habitat for Humanity, Feed America.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh,
boom, boom, boom.
yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
what I try to get them to stay away from, and this is as you may or may not have to say it, some, you know, politics,
Oh,
religion.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what we want to
Hot
talk
button.
about.
Stay far, far away.
Yeah.
Far, far away.
Boy.
You know,
Mhm.
those are kind of things that once
Oh,
you
yeah.
get into a company,
Yeah.
then, but you
No,
know,
no.
you know, when you asked me about interview pieces, you know, what you put on your resume gives them the right to ask you.
Mhm.
So you teaching them to ask you something because I see on your resume, and they'll say it, I see on here that you are, boom.
That's suicide actually for their stuff.
Sure is.
Company too,
Absolutely.
because
Yes,
that's a
it
big
is.
problem, especially in DC. You can't talk about
Nothing.
politics. That's a discrimination problem. So yeah, so if somebody hadn't been trained, so that's definitely a red flag. No,
Yeah, and I'm not asking them to hide their values or their blackness.
They don't even have that discussion. Just everybody shut up.
Yep. Can't talk about it. Nope.
Can't talk about it. Yeah. That's
so. And the other thing from a simple interview comment that you'll make, and same way with, it's the same thing that students will type on their resume like they talk, and so
text.
they want to make sure, you really want to make sure that what they're reading off their resume makes sense, and it's not, in their mind they know what they want to say, but that's not what they put on their resume. Now, and I have to do it in my job. I have to train the employers the same way. When I worked at Walmart as a director of diversity recruiting for all their pillars, and I'd take a ton of folks that weren't used to recruiting diverse candidates, and I'd take them to the National Black MBA conference, and they'd have a good time the night before. Then they come into the career fair, and somebody comes into the booth, and they'll go, "Yo, what's up? How you doing?" That's not language that you would normally use, Mr. Recruiter in the office. That doesn't look like me. So why do you think that you can come and say that to somebody who's trying to join your organization? Give them the proper handshake, look them in the eye, you can give them a smile, and let's get down to business. How you doing? How was your day? My name is Terry. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's get started. All this.
Yeah, they gotta learn how to.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And they will really, and so what it does though, with some candidates, it makes them loosen up and think that they can say the same thing. And it's a trick that they can say the same thing.
It is.
You still say, "Sir, ma'am, nice to meet you." Stand up straight, look them in the eye, and then go. Now, if you step outside the boundaries of the booth and you see somebody that you think you just bumping it, you still want to be careful doing things like that, because it's all eyes on you. Think that the video camera is on you from the time you walk into the career fair to the time you leave. What you do at your dorm room or in your car or any of that is your business. But when you're representing my brand, you better bring it like it's your brand.
Yeah.
And it happens like that. So that's on both sides. And the other piece on the interview, since you asked me that, Ms. Hines, is that I try to get students to understand, and I try to get them to understand that it's when the light bulb is screwed completely in, what you'll see is what you do in an interview and a job really reflects on what you do as a person in your social and your personal life. What I mean by that is when somebody asks you a question and you give them the answer, then you've given them the answer. What some recruiters will do is they'll ask you a question and then they won't say anything. So tell me about a time when you had to handle a situation and it just got out of control. Okay, I did this, and this, and I was able to resolve the situation amicably. And then the recruiter won't say anything. And then you go. And then what happened after that was, I was able to do this and I was able. No, shut up.
Yeah.
Once you give the answer to something, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't you're going to talk yourself out of a job by trying to explain something to somebody.
Yeah.
And I hit them upside the head with your girlfriend or boyfriend. Go ask them a question tonight and then don't say anything after they give you the answer. and see what happens. And then they'll keep talking, and they keep talking, and they keep talking. Be quiet. Once you said your answer, that's the answer. So that's a tip from a especially in the virtual interviews when they do that AI piece, that artificial intelligence. They will tell you that you talk too much. Your answer was
well, we usually use the very short, like the STAR method. So if they ask you something, say, oh, situation, this is what happened. This is how I did something. I achieved this. And as a result, I increased something. So you either increased it, made it better, and that's a close. As a result, I did this, which benefited the company, or the income or something.
Increased sales, reduced loss,
increased market share, reduced sales, whatever it did, whatever it was that you achieved, that's what it did. And
bingo.
Then stop. And then
bingo.
Just stop. You
hit it right on the spot. Now flip that to a personal situation. Think about if we answered our spouses or our good friends in the STAR method, and you said something and then you just shut up. You get to the point. It would be so easy.
Yeah.
And you teach people to treat you the way they do. They know that you're just going to keep talking.
Yes.
Oh yeah, strategy.
Yep.
And car dealers. I hope nobody on here owns a car dealership.
No.
Car dealers are the worst. Car
Notorious.
dealers are the worst. They'll ask you. They'll say you did. This. You wanted this. You wanted this. I've given you everything that you asked for. Here's the price. Do we have a deal?
Yeah.
That's the same premise with a lawyer and their client. They're going to tell their client, just answer the question.
All the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just answer the question. That's it.
If they want to know something more, they'll ask another question.
Right.
Yep.
So, and as simple as that sounds, it's hard for them to conceptualize.
Not nerves. Yeah.
Because they think they have to just keep improving themselves or proving that they know what they're talking about.
Right.
No, you answered it. 2 + 2 is what? 4.
Yeah.
And then you
there.
just get quiet and they go,
Hey, shorty.
Yeah.
look at their, it is 4, isn't it? It is 4. That's the answer, isn't it? It's 4, right? It's 4. Yes, the answer is 4. Shut up.
Yeah.
I forgot this is being recorded. Yes.
I'll be cutting some of it out, I assume.
No, but, the other thing is to eye contact and voice tone,
conversation.
Those are the kind of things that companies are looking for, and that they want to have that.
We practice mirroring.
Sit up straight. Sit at the edge of your seat when the person's talking.
If the interviewer is soft, then you mirror the person.
Right.
The eye contact and
Now, here's definitely one for virtuals. And this just happened to us last week. We had a young lady, and on Zoom, there's always this, everybody's getting ready, everybody's not quite there yet. And so on Zoom, you'll have your camera on, but you're not aware that everybody is looking at you. And so so when she came on, she was dressed nice and everything. And so my colleague looked at her and said, oof, that looks like an attitude, and so it was funny. I said, okay, well, I don't see attitude, because I know, sometimes people can stereotype women, especially Black women, into that. But so I didn't think stereotype. I just thought she wasn't mindful that we could see her, and see how that happens, because my colleague immediately, she was thinking this person gonna have attitude. So when I came on, I saw her, I said, hey, how you doing today? And I said, and she spoke, she smiled. I said, oh, there's that beautiful smile. And so that just changed all the dynamics. And that's a Zoom. That's one of those visual things. You don't think about it because you're just sitting there and you're probably engaged and thinking about what am I going to do this evening? What am I going to do? So you have to be mindful of that, of your presence.
Virtual interviews.
Mhm.
That's what COVID has brought us to.
Mhm.
They've had to
Mhm.
do
It does.
classroom things virtually. Don't do your interview driving. Don't do your
Oh, gosh.
interview at McDonald's. Don't, get somewhere where you can set just me on the phone talking to you all in the car driving home made it just a perfect that when I pulled up at my apartment, it got real crazy and squirrely.
Yeah.
And it's just as easy to say, I'm at my destination now. Can I log off and I'll get right back on so there won't be any break in the piece.
Excuse me. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm logging off now. So I really appreciated this whole talk.
Hi, Sophia.
Oh, hi.
I saw you when I came on.
Oh yeah. I put my a little information about me in the chat too, so you can see that too. But yeah, I got DSU in May of 2021, and I plan to keep staying connected. I mean, I currently work at Dell State as a laboratory tech right now. So I just want to stay connected and keep giving back because I got a lot out of my 4 years there.
Well, thank you and welcome to the party.
Yeah, I'm an alum now, so.
Very good, very good. We look forward to working with you on this project.
Yeah,
Okay.
I look forward to it too.
Have a good night, Sophia.
Bye, Sophia.
Just quickly, are you going to join us on the in-person at the career fair?
I think she's gone.
She's gone. Okay. We'll get her for the career fair. We need volunteers for that too.
Oh.
Yes. Dwayne, I thought you were gone.
Yeah, I had a meeting.
Okay.
In and out.
This has been a lively conversation.
Very productive. Good.
I think that again, write yourself some notes and thoughts bullet points of what you want to talk about. And you'll find yourself saying the same thing to each.
Sophia got back on.
Hi, I came back. I saw that Dwayne was going to ask me a question.
I was just asking if you're going to join us on the day of the career
make sure
fair.
your background is right on your virtual interviews. Sometimes when you're using that, what is it called, Dwayne? What is it when you have a artificial background?
Virtual background.
Oh,
virtual background that your face gets distorted, your hair.
Yes.
And it's distracting.
Yep.
It is distracting.
It's distracting. It's distracting. So,
yeah.
And if you can practice and make sure that everything is straight, make sure that it's done right, and that because in the mock interviews, when you're doing it virtually, it gives you a chance to get your head in the square and have the background. If you can get a light that's shining on you that you can see your face, and it's good, and it makes that happen. So no dogs, no phones, no televisions going, no music in the background. If you can get in a quiet spot to make it happen, make it happen.
I wanted to ask Sophia if she could join us on the career fair, the day of the career fair as well.
When is that? When is the day? Is it March 6th, March 19th? Is that the day
15th.
of? March
15th.
Okay. March 15th.
It's a
I am
Tuesday.
taking a big test, but I think that's the day after my test. Let's see. Yeah, I can be there that day.
Okay.
If I come in that day, what could I help out with?
Oh, we've got plenty for
We'll have
you.
plenty to help with.
All right.
Our biggest part,
Just so that you're not scared, Sophia, Dwayne and I will be there too. So all hands on deck.
All right, got it. All right, well, just send me any info I need then.
Okay.
You got it.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, are we all set or?
I think we're all set.
I think that's it. Yes.
Any questions that you all have that come that burning, and when we're done, just send me an email and I'll respond to what I'll do. Takeaways is I will forward the resume cheat sheet over with
Okay.
Great.
suggestions and tips and do's and don'ts on it for the mock interview and for the resume. So you'll have that. And then just be you and formulate your thoughts and make it work with the students. Listen and feedback and, have them tell you a little bit about themselves. Give me a 30-second about who you are and go from there.
Okay.
Because when we try to talk to students, they think that they're the, only one from Baltimore, or they're the only ones that are here from Texas, or, as interviewers go, I can relate all the time with, Dwayne and I are a perfect example. Dwayne said, well, he's from northern New York. Oh, okay. I used to live in Rochester. And then here we go. Now we've got something in common to talk about Northwest New York. And boom, it sort of breaks the ice and makes things a lot easier. And that goes with the same way with the activities, as well as places that you've worked and what city and state that you worked in. What part of Chicago did you live in? Oh, I lived in Oak Park. Oh, I used to live in Oak Park. Da 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 da. Boom.
Cool.
Okay.
Sure.
right. Well,
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, and thank you,
All right.
Terry.
All right.